Tell me when. Are you going? Oh my gosh. Did you go? Freak, start it over. No.
Go.
No, start it over.
Okay. Ready, set, go.
You didn't actually start it over.
No, I started over. Go ahead.
Yeah, start it over.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I decided to do my video on a topic that we talked about a couple weeks ago in class, and the topic was, does social media have largely positive impacts on its users? And my opinion would be that social media has had negative impacts on its users. Those who use it more frequently, I think, are more harmed by it than benefited. And there's lots of information about this here in the book of Clashing Views of Social Issues and the Myth of Individualism, and I'll use a couple examples from the book. My first example is a quote from the book of Clashing Views of Social Issues. It says in 1950 that less than 10% of American households contained only one person, and by 2010 nearly 27% of households had just one person. So we can see by these results that our society is gradually becoming more lonely, and I think social media has had a big impact on that loneliness that Americans feel. As well, there's a great survey here in the Clashing Views of Social Issues book that UCLA students did that also demonstrate that our society has become more lonely and due to social media. It says, loneliness is slippery, a difficult state to define or diagnose. The best tool yet developed for measuring the condition is the UCLA Loneliness Scale, a series of 20 questions that all begin with this formulation: how often do you feel ... as in how often do you feel that you are in tune with the people around you? And how often do you feel that you lack companionship? Measuring the condition in these terms, various studies have shown loneliness rising drastically over a very short period of recent history. A 2010 survey found that 35% of adults older than 45 were chronically lonely, as opposed to 20% of a similar group only a decade earlier. According to a major study by a leading scholar of the subject, roughly 20% of Americans, about 60 million people, are unhappy with their lives because of loneliness. Across the Western world, physicians and nurses have begun to speak openly of an epidemic of loneliness. So I really like some of the questions that the UCLA students use in their surveys. How often do you feel that you are in tune with the people around you? I think that social media makes it harder for people to be relatable in person. It's hard for them to communicate with one another. I think it makes them, it creates a world that's more of a fantasy than realistic, and I think that's what causes a lot of loneliness in our society today. And as well, the myth of individualism goes right along with this topic. It talks a lot about how our society is based on individualism, and there's a quote that I really like that says, individualism is a belief system that privileges the individual over the group. And we can really see that in social media, that individuals are constantly trying to put themselves above other people by the pictures they post, by their tweets, and I think that causes great loneliness to a lot of people. As well, I really liked an example here in the book. It talks about the attributes of a superhero. And this is what it says in the myth of individualism. It says, think for a moment about the following pairs of traits and behaviors juxtaposed in columns A and B. Column A says soft, passive, weak, timid, emotional, gentle. And then B says hard, aggressive, strong, brave, rational, rough. Which column would you say best describes a typical superhero? Obviously, it's column B, hard, aggressive, strong, brave, rational, rough. And I think on social media that everyone tries to portray these attributes. Everyone tries to portray that they're strong. Everyone tries to portray that they're popular, that they're happy, that they're having a great time. But in reality, it's fake, and they're trying to put themselves above the group. And then my last quote from the myth of individualism is this. It says one person's freedom becomes another person's oppression. So I think, we see people on social media and we think that they're free, that they're happy, that they're doing great, and that puts ourselves down and we become oppressed or lonely, creating this fake world. So that is my video. Yeah, stop it. Did you stop it?